future
Of
in
course.
front of us. I'm really excited to be here today to have a discussion and also probably hear about your resolutions for the new year.
That's true. So, just like he has said, today is going to be you, not just you listening, but it's
Yeah.
going to be very conversational as possible because you get to call us. Please don't be a silent listener. You can call us and talk to us. How can we balance our resolutions with the need for us to adhere to these core values and remain patriotic to Nigeria? Because I know that there are some people that are resolving to do so many things this year. And on the contrary, some of these things they are resolving to do this year are not in line with the values that we're supposed to uphold. Some people are like, they will have to make it this year,
Yeah.
whether it's through fraud,
Yeah.
whether it's through ritual, they don't care. So long as they make it, they just want to make it this year. So how can we, reset their mindset to see how we can still make it, but without breaking the values that we're supposed to hold in our society? So
All right, thank you very much, Cassandra. I would like to say Happy New Year once again. I'm really positive about this year, and everybody should be also, because basically it's a time for us to reflect, to reset, and re-strategize. That's what the new year affords us almost every time.
Yeah.
The world pauses and then kickstarts again.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful moment because everybody is almost in alignment. Almost everybody is thinking, what should I do differently this time? Yeah, last year was like this.
Yes.
How can I be better? And the word better has to be positivity, basically, because I don't feel like we should all embrace mediocrity.
course.
At everything you want to do, you want to come out top, and you want to come out top means you have to be patient, you have to be resilient, you have to basically set standards and go. And regardless of how we want to see it, making it through crook means that you're lowering your standards.
Of course.
And there are places you can't even beat your drum. Imagine making it and then you're tiptoeing all around. You're scared to move out. Your mind
That's
is
true.
not at peace.
At all.
And we all know that at the end of the day, we're going to meet our creator and you're not even sure about yourself, talk more of being able to get the recompense of your Lord. However, when you make it by hook, then you know you've worked for it. You know, and for everybody who has succeeded, nobody would tell you it came easy.
At all.
So almost everybody would tell you that they were patient, they were resilient. There were times they fell on their feet, but they had to stand up all over again, dust off. And this is an opportunity to stand on your feet and dust off, right? It's a new year. So, basically, your question was, how do we go on
From here.
from here?
Yeah.
Just as I mentioned, New Year, time to reflect, time to re-strategize. For a lot of people, we are trying to have a new start. However, you can't have a new start without an outline of things you want to achieve,
That's
of
true.
etiquettes you want to embrace,
That's
of
true.
values you want to possess or imbibe. However, you have to be very, very precise and intentional about these things. So intentionality comes to play. So you have to reflect and tell yourself honestly, who do I want to be? With who you want to be, the image that you have, then you can have an outline of values. However, even if you do not know anything about the values, that's why we've been having this discussion and talking about the benefits of all the national ethics and values as enshrined in Chapter 2, Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended, right? And in there, there are some unique ethics and values that have been outlined for us, right?
Yeah.
Discipline. Nobody actually fails just because he has been disciplined. Sooner or later, you will surely get a reward for it. Patriotism. If you love for your country as much as you love yourself and your family, basically, you will be willing to do a lot of things to put your country in a good light. So
That's true.
it helps your environment to thrive. I have never seen somebody really succeed as best as he could without a balanced society. So the only way you can maybe balance up is to be patriotic about the things around you. And being patriotic means you will have to make things right around you.
That's
So
true.
one of the major reasons I'm doing what I am doing, or Generation for Societal Change as a whole, is doing what they are doing, is because we have come to realize that we need to have a country that is good, right? Very balanced before we can also thrive to the aspirations that we have. So
That's true.
while these aspirations are not really personal, it's because of the love that we have
For
for
country.
country, right? However, we still have families, and for our families to enjoy our country, then our country would have to be better,
Yes.
right? So these are the things that we have to look at: patriotism, discipline, integrity, having strong moral principles, and willing to not be deterred by any external force, basically, for you to make a tweak or something. Integrity, dignity of labor, self-reliance, religious tolerance, social justice, right? We have defined all of this. So you can actually imbibe all of this, be a universal or national citizen,
Okay.
and basically have a balanced thriving ground. When you're able to imbibe this, then you will see the benefits that it has for you in store, and you could also make your personal goals that you can strive and thrive upon, right? While this could be personal values too, they are personal values before they are the national values, right? I'm just saying, just in case you want to add maybe one or two, right, to all of the things that we have outlined. But this is a good starting point for anyone at all. It's a new year, you could align to these values and see how much of a change it has on your life. Personally, I've experienced a lot of changes, positive changes, just because I have imbibed these core values and I'm basically living as this, and as an example of the core values. Somehow my society subliminally thrived because of the exemplary lifestyle, or wherever it is you want to see that is exhibited. So with my society and everybody is in alignment to this national ethics and values, then you can assure yourself of a strive. Basically, there's just going to be an easy ride from there. So yeah, these are some of the reasons why we should imbibe the core values, especially at the beginning of the year.
All right, thank you very much. Now, remember, dear listener, that you need to be a part of this conversation, because it's not just the two of us here in the studio. You also have to, tell us what your resolutions are for this year and how you intend to go about these resolutions, and also adhere to the core values that we must hold in our society. Now, I was going to ask you that, are there any core values that we've lost sight of over the years that we can rediscover in 2025?
Yeah, actually, indeed, there are, especially when we talk about the national core values.
All right.
One thing that have diminished critically is patriotism, and I don't want to blame anyone, right?
Okay.
Because patriotism is an emotional tie.
That's true.
And a lot of times I've said in this studio that leadership is inspirational and it's motivational, right? And it's all that you need to spark up the emotional tie or emotional commitment of the citizenry, your followers, right?
Yes.
So yes, maybe one or two things have happened. We have endured so much as a country. We have gone so far. There were times of positivity and all of that. However, with the advent of a lot of things, maybe lack of good government policies, because of maybe some difficulties that we experience as a result of poor decisions that have been made by our leaders, and maybe lack of, with change of governance, there haven't been continuity, and the restarting and all of that slows the process of everything. You see that we struggle quite a whole lot to believe in the process anymore. So you see Nigerians walking around and saying, you know what, we don't even care. Whatever it is that would happen, would happen. Where they ought to show that pride and dignify their country, they condemn. Subliminally, that has a lot of negative ripple effect on our country.
Yeah.
Economically, people call your dog what you call it. You can't call your dog Max and somebody calls it Bingo. So much as he heard you call it Max, I'm sure he'll definitely call it Max, right? And how you carry yourself, the way you carry yourself is basically in accordance to how you will be addressed at the end of the day.
That's true.
And a lot of times, because we are unpatriotic, people do not even believe in the country anymore. You see investors fleeing away because, I mean, even the best of us or the most influential of us go out there and leave diminishing comments about the country, forgetting that it's beyond you. It's actually everybody. You know what happened in homes, right? Because of the love that we have for our families, right? We try to cover up certain things. I'm not saying we have to cover up things, right? But there are certain things where we're quick to dry our dirty laundries outside, right? We're quick. You see something negative, maybe a police and somebody having a bit of an argument. Instead of seeing how you could resolve it amicably, you're quick to bring up your phone and record it and send it. You will add your Maggi and salt and pepper. Even the things that did not happen, you put it. I've seen it. You understand? I've seen old videos resurfacing. I've seen videos that do not even have anything to do with Nigeria coming up online and people tagging it as Nigeria. Why? Just so that they can get cheap scores, so that they can get more viewership, more followership, and achieve their main aim of people hating Nigeria at the end of the day. So it has done us more harm than good. People see you as in Nigeria. We've gone to places now, and just because you're Nigerian, your search is different.
That's
or
true.
people start looking at you in a very suspicious way. Or basically, you come into an interview, you do everything right, and then they ask you, where are you from? Nigeria, and then that's off. We are doing, if you're not doing yourself harm because you feel like you're doing good, almost your sons and daughters, your grandparents, your relatives at the end of the day are not escaping all of this.
That's true.
They are not. And that's very selfish of you if all you're thinking about is yourself, and then it goes on to define you as a person and the values that you possess. We are not Nigerians because we are selfish. We are Nigerians because we are patriotic. We are Nigerians because we actually care for one another. One of our major strengths is the unity in our diversity, and that we intend to uphold even now that we have a new year looking around us.
Thank you very much. The fact that you talked about patriotism no longer being there, the fact that it's disappearing very fast or has disappeared, and you acknowledge that yes, there are issues that are making this whole thing even more difficult, because patriotism is an emotional thing. People need to see value before they can invest their emotions well. People need to see that they're getting something. And so far, in all honesty, I would say that things have not been really quite easy with Nigerians and for Nigerians. So some people are like, okay, even if I'm patriotic, what am I going to get at the end of the day? It's nothing. So you see them vandalize the rail lines, you see them vandalize manhole covers, you see them vandalize public property because they feel like that is the only way they can get their pound of flesh. But in this 2025, there's a need for us to rediscover. There's a need for us to go back on track. So now, how can we foster a culture of social responsibility in our communities? Because we all have a role to play. You gave a very practical example. Yes, we know that police brutality is a thing, and Nigeria has had its own fair share of this whole brutality thing. And I remember that in 2020, it was like the whole, the straw that broke the camel's back, where we had the protests for weeks and all of that. At least it was resolved again. I mean, it was dissolved again, the SARS and everything. But these issues are still there. And that is why you see that if anyone has a confrontation with a security agent, the first thing they do is to bring out their phone, probably because of past experiences. Some people have been sadly killed and nobody has heard anything about them. Some people have been locked up until now. nobody has heard anything about them. So I think it's because of that, because of these experiences, because of the stories of all the Nigerians that have lost their lives in a very tragic way. Some Nigerians decide to do that. But again, there are some that will still go the extreme, go the extra mile by trying to, like you said, sensationalize everything and even make it worse than it is already. So, looking at all of this, how can we, have a mind shift? I mean, a shift in our mindset. How, even if you see, I think there was recently a video was making the rounds where this man, I think around the central area, he saw that manhole covers were removed. He took out his phone, was making videos that, see what these people are doing. This was just done yesterday. And I think that video, in just going viral in less than 24 hours,
Yeah.
about 50 suspects were arrested. And right now, the FCT minister is talking tough that these guys are going to be prosecuted. All right, I just had to do that. Remember, I said I'm under the weather, so please manage with me, bear with me. So, the minister is saying that these guys are going to face prosecution. But imagine that this guy didn't do it. I know that this manhole theft is something that has been on and on, but he was trying to lead by example. He raised awareness about an issue, and now the government is stepping up its game.
Yeah, so basically, this is commendable from him, right? And it stems from a position, and I'm actually not blaming anyone for where we are now, right? It came from a situation in the past where there wasn't any other channel but out there when we post all of this. However, this is different, right? We have somebody new at the helm of affairs.
Yes.
Let me start by saying that in peace and reconciliation, right? You
Yes.
have to let go of the past to usher in the future.
That's true.
You have to resolve the past to usher in the future. And just aside even in peace and reconciliation goes all across various spectrum of life and all of that. So that's for that. One thing I'm also excited about is when this new government came, they came up with the National Identity Project, which we've been discussing on radio for some time, at least with the National Orientation Agency. And they are saying, you know what, we are going to do some things differently this time around. And because we have to do certain things differently, that's why we are introducing the part of institutionalization policies, where certain policies are being enacted just to ensure that the citizens' promise, right, the Nigerian promise, rather,
the Nigerian promise.
yes, and the citizens' code are basically having a platform to thrive. It's not just us mentioning certain things. And if truth has to be told, there are certain things that are done differently. So with that issue of that man bringing his phone, yeah, it's commendable. But I feel like because of the bigger picture that we have mentioned initially about putting Nigeria in a negative light, and him bringing that online would expose us. It's like your home. You don't go on talking about
Okay, so
the
you
ill
feel like
attitude.
it should have gone to
There are other
authorities
channels. I mean,
instead
like
of posting it
yeah,
online.
I think there are channels. There are even TV stations that encourage that you bring on these things, and almost everybody can see it, right? On those TV channels, they are national channels. They are more home oriented, if I might put it that way, right? So you take it to maybe the relevant authorities so they can see, and maybe put out the word that you're going to let this out if you don't get any response or something. At least that's different. But when you put it out there, just imagine an investor, maybe what he wants to come and do, or maybe someone wants to install fire hydrants all across the FCT to optimize service response time in times of emergency, maybe to fire service and all of that, as a result of a growing fire related incident. and he sees this, and the person is not a Nigerian, but because he has an emotional tie, probably because he's been here and something of that sort has happened, and he has basically that, the things that could spur someone to do
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
thing. And while he is thinking of spending a lot of money to ensure that this development come to play, which would be beneficial to everyone, he sees this video. If I was that person who had that intention, I'm not sure I would come and cite it.
Okay.
And it would be doing us more harm than good. More harm, why? Because, I mean, it wasn't in the plan of the government, first off, to even put the fire hydrants. We're going to have an additional, maybe, facility as a result of someone's generosity. And because of that kind of thing that we have put out, he feels like my money cannot be wasted, so it's better I hold it back.
Okay.
So it's even you doing that, maybe intentionally, to while that person's intention was good, right? But I want to tie it to maybe people who deface structure, for instance, because you want to have your pound of flesh, you're defacing structures, you're doing all of that. At the end of the day, if the government do not respond, or they use money that they would have used for another thing in just fixing something that was already existent,
Yeah.
we are doing ourselves more harm than
Honestly,
good.
honestly.
Actually, you're taking yourself back a lot of years below. So we have to be intentional. We have to. It doesn't tell well of us. I mean, we are not kids. One of the major reasons why you are an adult is because you're able to separate your emotions from your decisions.
That's true.
Right? So
Yes.
if you're separating your emotions from your decisions, then it helps you to have an ability to think straight, rationally and critically, before taking out a certain decision for the benefit of you and the general populace at the end of the day. So yes, he might have done something commendable by calling the attention of relevant authorities.
But the means.
But I am saying that the means
means,
could
the
actually be
channel.
better. The channel can be better. And if anybody is hearing this, even the government or whatever, this is why policies and structures have to be put
Yeah,
in
because
place.
I was coming to that.
Yes.
Because even the channels that we are talking about, sometimes people resort to social media
Yeah.
because the channels that have been established, it's
Yeah.
either they are not functioning optimally
Yeah.
or they are not even there at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So imagine you going to report this incident. You know, there is that likelihood that you even be the one to arrest, that you are the one that's connived with these people to remove the manholes, and then you are coming to say, oh, this is what you saw.
Indeed.
It's very possible. I've heard people say, if I see someone on the road that maybe a car hit or something, I am not going to report to the police station because it's likely they will arrest me and detain me that I'm responsible or
Yeah.
something. So that, you see, there are certain experiences that make Nigerians to act that way. But like you said, if we really want to move ahead, if we want to rediscover our purpose as a country in 2025 and beyond,
Yeah.
then we have to move away from the past, even though we need to see what we've done in the previous years and how we can even do better in the coming years, especially in this 2025. So I totally get you, but you know, there are other issues as well, especially some pressing issues that are facing our nation.
Okay.
So how can our core values inform our responses, and what are some of these pressing issues you think we are facing, and how can we handle them? How can we respond to them pertaining to our core values as a nation?
Okay, thank you very much. And to answer that question, I will subliminally somehow
Okay.
answer the previous concern raised, right? Or an extended comment to the concern raised earlier. And I am saying that almost every time we speak about the national ethics and values and we speak to the citizens, we aren't just speaking to the citizens, right? Because as we are speaking to the citizens, indirectly we are also speaking to the leaders. The
Yeah.
leaders were once citizens before they actually became leaders. And because they were once citizens before they became leaders, you need to know that we have to put a structure in place for all of the citizens at the end of the day. All of the citizens have to be in alignment to the ethics and values, to the national identity that has been chartered, that have been established already. So what that means is when we are saying we need to uphold to certain values, then the leaders also would have to uphold to these values too. Because if they do not uphold, then it makes it harder for the general citizenry or the general population to adhere to what is what is there for them to adhere to, which is the national core values and maybe the national identity charter. So primarily, some of the pressing issues that we are experiencing as a nation, for a lot of Nigerians that I've heard, is maybe bad governance in every sphere. And I would like to say that given that we have identified this as a problem, we have a civic responsibility. It mustn't be just election periods before we will come and start having this discussion. It's been a year or two since the previous elections, and we are seeing issues that we don't like as a result of bad governance. Everybody is crying about bad governance, but we elected them there somehow, consciously or unconsciously. If you didn't go out to vote, then you're giving opportunity to the people who went out to vote, and they have an agenda, a bad agenda that does not basically profit everybody, to win. So how about when next we are going out to vote for leaders, we actually gather ourselves, basically aligning to the national ethics and values and the need of the nation, so we can elect competent leaders that will lead us, that would inspire us, and have the greater good of the country at heart first and foremost. Only then we can have this issue of maybe bad governance resolved at the end of the day. Without this, then there's no headway or whatsoever. We will struggle actually, because I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup. For a leader who does not have the right values to lead, then he will struggle to lead. Right? So that's one thing. Bad governance is one thing that they have complained about. In the past, yes, insecurity. Insecurity have popped up a lot of times as some of the challenges that we have experienced. However, it's improved brilliantly in the past. Basically, I would like to also say that while the government are doing their own part, we actually have our own responsibility as citizens. We have to call people to order. We have to be very vigilant at the end of the day. I'll share this story. Last week, I was standing with my cousins in front of the house, in front of my compound, within an estate. And this guy drove in. He had tints all over his car. It's a car I've never seen. And then he drove in. The security allowed him. I imagine that they had a conversation prior to his arrival. But immediately he came in and he just parked for like 30 seconds, a minute. He wanted to drive out. And my security wanted to open the gate and allow him out of the estate. And I screamed from afar and I told him, "Don't open the gate, don't open the gate." And I walked up to this man to ask him, "Who are you? Where are you going to? Why would you just drive into the estate and leave?" And then he told me who he came to see, and he has been in conversations with it. Prior to then, I didn't have a face attached to that person. What if he came to gather information that he will use to harm us? Yes. I mean, I could easily just dismiss and say, you know what, I don't care, I'm not a security and all of that. And that's something that is, how do I put it, very common in Nigeria. I feel like we in Abuja myself, we feel like it's a very woke thing to do, that you don't relate with your neighbors, that you don't take responsibilities, you don't care about what is happening to you, so happening around you so much as it doesn't happen to you. That's a careless way to live, and that's you inviting a lot of negativity to come your way. I walked up to him, I questioned him, I was able to see his face. He called a name that I could hold accountable within the estate, and he said he'd been in communication with him. And I'm like, okay, you should understand what I'm trying to do.
Yes.
Before I allowed the security to open the gate. But even before I allowed the security to open the gate, he had his own fair share. I told him, you have to question people properly. You saw him just walk in and he's walking out. How about asking him relevant questions that can help protect your job? Your job isn't just to open the gate and close it, right? You have to be, make inquiries and be more vigilant. By so doing, I'm very sure if that guy had an intention, right, he will feel like someone was really aware. Subliminally, or basically protecting myself, protecting my family, and the people around me. So insecurity is not left for just the security operatives alone, right? It has to do with all of us. You have to be vigilant. If you see and you cannot really address that situation immediately, then you extend, you call the police or whoever the security operatives that are around you to come and attend to the issue. That way it's a stitch in time and you're resolving a lot. Another thing is also taking responsibility and duty care for yourself. So you don't need the VIO or the road safety to come and tell you that your tire is actually not good, right?